Welcome to the first video. This one is going to be pretty short, talking about section 1.1, what is quantitative reasoning. Before you get started, I'd say go ahead and hit pause and read pages 1 and 2. Just read through those in your packet. Kind of gives you a brief overview of what we're going to do. And then we'll go ahead and talk about pages 3 and 4, graphs and how to read them and that kind of thing, so pretty quickly. So hit pause, read pages 1 and 2, and then continue. Alright, we are now on page 3, and this is the graph that you see. So I'm just going to kind of go through the 5 questions and just review a few things about this. So question number 1, what is represented across the horizontal axis? Well, as long as you know what horizontal means, you're pretty good there. So horizontal is this way. So you could say, state schools or state colleges in Indiana, or, just colleges, anything like that. So number 1 is the horizontal. Number 2, vertical. Well, vertical is up and down. So it's these percentages. And if you just say percents, that's not really a good enough answer. What do those percents tell you? So that's where you can kind of see it's the percent of minorities enrolled in state colleges. So 40% of minorities, if we look at this first bar, this Ivy Tech bar, 40% of minorities are enrolled at Ivy Tech. Maybe 24% are enrolled at IU. That's how you can read it. So you don't just want to say percent, you want to be as specific as possible. Number 3, if you were to add all the percentages represented from the state schools, what total percent would you get? Well, if we're talking about all the minorities, and that's each percent, so how much is all? Well, if you put all of them together, that should equal 100%. So this one's at 40, this is maybe 24, maybe 13, 9, 5, 4, I'm just estimating here, 2. What does that give us? 64, 77, 86, 90. Okay, I end up with 101 the way I estimated. But I estimated, right? So if we would go actual, we should end up with 100% for number 3. For 4 and 5, you could have a ton of different answers. What does the graph tell us? Well, Ivy Tech serves the most. USI serves the least. That's something. Number 5, what does it not tell us? We don't have any actual numbers. What population of Ivy Tech students are minority? We have no idea. So this just gives us the basic of minority. It doesn't really tell us much more than that. So we don't have specific numbers to go along with any of that. All right, let's turn the page and go to page 4. Page 4 is pie graphs. So we're looking at these. We've got 2005, 2006 to 2012, 2013 state operating budgets. So when you look at question number 1, the pie chart highlights a 14% shift. It says it right here, 14% shift to students since 05-06. What does that mean? The shift to students. Well, thinking about it, students pay tuition, right? And this part of the graph is tuition. So you can see in 2005, 2006, students, 44% of the operating budget of Ivy Tech came from students, whereas in 12-13, 58% of that. So we definitely depended more on students paying tuition for the operating costs. And it says, from a student's perspective, is this favorable or unfavorable? Well, if more of the operating budget is dependent upon tuition probably has increased, so that would definitely be unfavorable. Right. Number 2, the focus is on the increased percent of Ivy Tech operating budget coming from students. Quantify the change in the other 2 areas. I want to talk about that word, quantify. So what does quantify mean? Basically, to put it easily, numbers. Quantify means use data to give an answer. So when you're looking at state operating is this black piece, right? These black bars. So talking about the state operating, okay, well, that would be a decrease by 15% because we went from 55% here to 40%. So by quantifying it means you would say we decreased by 15%. You gave actual hard data. And other increased. Here's the 1%, here's the 2%. So the other increased by 1%. You want to make sure when it says quantify that you're actually using numbers. And then we have number 3. Let's say your instructor earns $100 per class. What portion in dollars is paid by the students? Well, if the students pay 58%, and remember, what does percent mean? Well, percent is always out of 100. So 58% would be 58 over 100. So if we're talking $100 per class, then 58 of that comes from students. The state pays as 40%, so it'd be $40, and then the other would be 2. And that's section 1-1.